Are you confused what documents you need to get your very first job in Australia? You could be a student, you could be a skilled migrant, you could be a dependent. So all of us need a job. So I'm going to explain to you all the mandatory documents that you need to get your very first successful job in Australia. So stick around till the end. The very first document you need is proof of work rights, which is your visa copy. So if you're a student visa holder, you can show them your student visa, which will clearly mention that you are entitled to 40 hours per fortnight during semester and unlimited work rights during your semester break. If you are a skilled migrant, it'll clearly mention that you have unlimited work rights. If you're on a visitor visa, it's a clear no. It'll be written that you are not allowed to work. And if you're a dependent visa, depending on the type of visa you're on, your conditions might vary. So every employer before employment will ask this question if you have an eligible work visa. Okay, so that's the first most important document that you will need to provide to the employer in order to get your job. The second document that you would require is to prove your type of employment. So if you want to work as an employee under a business name, under an employer, then you would need something known as a TFN, tax file number. If you want to operate your own business, for example, if you are being an Uber driver, Uber Eats, so in that case, you have to get an Australian business number where you can declare yourself as the sole business owner, like sole proprietor, or depending on what kind of business you're trying to operate. But if you're coming as a student or if you're just starting out, you might want to start as a sole proprietor. In that case, you will need an Australian business number. The other one is cash in hand, which is definitely not recommended, but people still do it. So is somebody who's really desperate, who wants to get into the job market, might choose to do a cash in hand job where you work for an employer. There's usually the Asian employers do this, so they employ students and migrants who are very desperate for jobs for under wages, which is $8 or $10 cash in hand, which is legally not allowed. So do not allow yourself in that particular circumstance. So the second document is tax file number or an Australian business number, depending on if you want to work for someone or if you want to operate your own business. The next most important document is a bank account. Obviously, all of us work, we need to get money. So the bank account, so to open a bank account, you don't need an Australian document, an ID proof. All you need is your home country passport and your valid visa copy and any proof or at least an address where they can send you mail communication. So you should have an address which you are going to report as a postal address, and of course you will have a phone number. So that's the first thing to do. So your address, where you're going to stay, and the phone number. So with these details, you should be able to open a bank account, any major banks here. So usually it's Commonwealth Bank, and you have NAB, and then you've got Westpac. So these are the most common ones, but it's up to you to choose, or if your friends and family are going to refer you to some other banks. So the third most important document, bank account. And the fourth one, every employer will have a contribution called as super. So super is similar to your retirement fund, where there are two parts of contribution. One is the employer's contribution and the other one is your contribution, employee contribution. So when you fill in the form for super for the very first time, you will have to mention whether you wish to contribute towards a super or if you just want employees to contribute. Here, you have to monitor your super account because some employers will just reflect their contribution in the payslip, but there's no money actually going into your account. So make sure you verify that if your employer contribution is going into your account every week or every fortnight, depending on your pay. So Australia pays employees based on weekly system or fortnight. Fortnight is more common, but in more terms of labor kind of jobs, trade kind of jobs, you get paid weekly. So these four documents that we discussed, like your visa document, your bank statement, your TFN, your ABN, your super, you pretty much do not have much control over it. It's just like a checklist item where you apply, you get the document, you can check that box. Whereas the remaining four that we're going to discuss are things that are completely in your control, and how much effort you put in these four steps will completely determine your success. When I mean success, the sooner you get a job. So the amount of time you invest in researching and crafting these documents will definitely help you to be successful in the Australian job market. So what are they? Without much suspense, let's get into the last four mandatory documents for Australian jobs. So the fifth document is your resume. So most of the Indian students, most of the Indian migrants that I have seen have a very typical Indian style of a resume. Even I started off like that. So basically you have a table which says your school name, the percentage you got, your date of birth, marital status, your passport number. All these informations are supposed to be very, very crucial, privacy kind of an information here. There's no need for you to declare it. So a simple resume should only project. If you're a student applying for a part-time job, I would say to just apply with a one-page CV or a one-page resume, which clearly states your name, your address, because people prefer someone who live local, who live close by for part-time jobs, especially in cafes and restaurants and bars. In that case, just have your number, your contact details like your phone number, your email address, your qualification, your visa you're on, what is your work rights in terms of visa, and what are your skills. So pretty much just a one-page resume should do the trick. And the next important document is cover letter. So cover letter, what is the difference? Many people tend to write the same information or reproduce the same information from resume onto the cover letter. A resume is more to talk about your educational qualification and work experience, whereas a cover letter is a more customized, personalized document which would say how you are the right fit for that particular job, for that particular role that has been advertised. How your previous experiences, your previous job roles that you've done, your educational qualification matches with the current role. All right. I will have a separate video about cover letters and resume. So please go through that to get a detailed understanding. So that's about the next document, cover letter. I wouldn't say a document, but it is a mandatory thing in Australian job market. We don't get experience certificates like how we get in India to prove that you have worked from this time to this time in this designation these many years. So Australians go, I was surprised because when I finished my first job, I asked them for an, an experience certificate. There was like, there's no such thing. You can do a reference check. When we do a reference check, they will know from when to when you work. So references are very, very important in Australian job market. So references are two types. You have personal reference and you have professional reference. So personal reference is someone, a family or a friend who knows, because once you come, if you haven't done a first job, obviously you are not going to have a professional reference. But you need someone who can really vouch on your character, who can vouch on your attitude towards work, and basically the time that you've come, you're a legal migrant. It is just a step for them to ensure that you are non-problematic and they can trust you. There are few companies who take references very, very seriously. So make sure you give the right person who will pick up the phone or who will respond to emails very promptly. I have had a job delay by a month because one of my reference had not responded. So I really trusted that person, gave his number, but unfortunately he didn't respond. So the recruitment consultant told me that one of my references has not been very responsive, and that's the reason my outcome was delayed. And it is a general thing in Australian job market. If your interview step goes up to reference check, there's a lot of chance you will get a job. So that's a little bit hint there. So that's up with the next important document, reference checks. And then the last but very, very important. It's not a document, it's you as a personality and your attitude. Most of the employers, I have been in the recruitment industry briefly in Adelaide. So in that time, what with interactions with multiple business owners, all I knew was every employer says skills are not my primary focus. I can train them, but all I need is the right attitude. So when they say right attitude, which means you have to be coachable, you have to be willing to adapt to the business culture, and that is what is the prime focus or the prime expectation of an employer. So most of the big corporations conduct interviews where they screen candidates initially, maybe with a written test, and then they have the video interview, and after that they do a telephone interview, and finally they go to the personal interview where they really spend time meeting you one-on-one. So when I did my research, the reason being the final face-to-face meeting is to check if you fit into the work ethic or the work culture of that organization, of that business. So how do they check that? By your body language, because 80% of the communication is by body language, is non-verbal. So make sure you present yourself well, because first impression is always the best impression, and you have the right signs and right attitude when you meet someone in person. So how do you know that you have the right attitude? With your pleasing personality, with well preparation for the interview. When I mean well prepared, you have to know completely about the company you're attending, your role, and you have to be very, very clear in justifying why they have to hire you. So I'll do a separate series or a separate video in this particular topic, how to answer basic interview questions confidently, and I'm sure you'll be able to crack the market. So I'll quickly summarize all the documents that you require to get your first job in Australia. So you need a valid working rights in the form of visa. You need the document to get your taxes done. It can be a tax file number or an Australian business number. You need a valid Australian bank account. You need your super account for your retirement funds, where you can choose to contribute your money or you choose not to contribute to the money. And then you've got your resume, where you display your educational qualification, work experience, and contact details. You have your cover letter, where you customize and say how your skills and previous experiences matches with the job that's been advertised or you're applying for. And then you have got references, where you show your personal reference or your professional reference, whom the employer can call or email and verify your character, your technical skills or your professional skills. And last but not the least, the right attitude to crack the job market and impress the employer. Always be honest, just be yourself. It's good they accept the real you than the fake you and then regret. All right, so I wish you all good luck, and I hope you all crack the Australian market quickly. And if you have any doubts in interview questions and forming a resume or drafting a cover letter, please get in touch in the email and I shall respond to you. You can also leave your comments here. If you need any further information, I shall address these comments. And if you like such videos, please subscribe and turn the notifications on to be notified of my new videos instantly. Good luck, and I'll talk to you all soon.